Welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei. To raise public awareness on taking action toward a healthy environment, China's National Legislature designated August the 15th as National Ecology Day last year. This year, the theme is accelerating a comprehensive green transition in all economic and social sectors. In the run-up to the second National Ecology Day, which falls on Thursday, China came out with a set of guidelines to ramp up green transition in economic and social development. It marks China's first systematic national approach to a green shift. As the world's second-largest economy, China has proactively proposed this comprehensive green transition after setting dual carbon goals. So how far has the country gone in pursuing its low-carbon commitments? And despite some setbacks, what does China's commitment mean for the global green transition? Let's loop in our panelists. Joining us in Shanghai, Wu Changhua, China Director of the Office of Jeremy Rifkin. And also in Islamabad, we have Mohammed Irfan Khan, Professor and founder of the Department of Environmental Science with the Islamic University. Welcome to the program and congratulations on the National Ecology Day. Ms. Wu, you must be very busy today looking at with retrospect, what China has achieved and where China is today.
It's definitely a day for celebration. I'm delighted we are celebrating the second National Ecology Day, and of course, like the rest of you, the rest of people, particularly in China, at this very moment, people from government, from business community, from the broader society are pretty much celebrating the day in order to really bring back the discussion, the activities, and bring back to life the balance between nature, humanity, and nature. So yeah, it's definitely a great day to celebrate.
Right. We noticed that China has been very keen to link ecology with the issue of culture, history, and also social customs. For example, China has been raising the idea of ecological civilization. Now, that sounds abstract, but why is it so important for China to look at the ecology issue with such a perspective?
So in our Chinese culture, in our literature, we say, we emphasize the harmony and the balance between man and nature. That's pretty much embedded in our language, in the Chinese language, in Chinese philosophy there. We use Tao, right? And so in the ancient Chinese, philosophy there, it's everywhere, right? And there's another example, for instance, in ancient Chinese culture, we pretty much use, observing the animal's response to the weather changes there, right? We pretty much talk about it, and we live in it. But as I said, the issue is that we somehow, through the industrialization process, we somehow abandoned that, right? And that's why we are facing all these challenges there: pollution, climate change, biodiversity loss, as well as actually resource scarcity there. So that's why we are emphasizing, celebrating the National Ecology Day, so that we'll be able to really bring back to the realities that we are in nature, we are part of the nature, we have to respect the balance of harmony with nature, so that we'll be able to really survive. As I said, I use survival and thriving. We call it sustainable development.
Professor Khan, studying from where you are, how do you see, the role that nature and ecology has played in the Chinese culture and China's enthusiasm about the concept of ecological civilization?
You see, I guess give you one idea from the China's Belt and Road Initiative. That MOU has been signed with 138 countries. If you look into the details of that, so under that BRI initiative, that China has established a Green BRI Center and had established a Green BRI framework. And that provides like green finance, green energy development, green infrastructure, and green transport. These are all the initiatives when the China internationally financing different projects for the development. So this green financing and green transition is embedded in all its concepts, all its papers. For example, in Pakistan, they started recently a Daud wind energy project. It is under the BRI initiative. That is all green financing from China. So it means from the ecological civilization embedded within the Chinese culture, they want to spread it outside. Unfortunately, what happened in the history of this industrial development, and that's become the industrial civilization. We used to live with nature in harmony. Then we learned the science and technology, and we have destroyed that relationship. Now, this is the time that we have to learn the art of living with nature. So China's enthusiasm, what you're seeing, it's reflected from declaring the 15th of August as a National Ecology Day, in line with the UN resolution that we passed in 2021 to declare the whole decade, this decade, from 21 to 2030, as a decade of ecological restoration. So following that, I think that China is the only country that has immediately implemented last year from declaring the 15th of August as a National Ecology Day. So this enthusiasm is being spread through the BRI Green Framework.
Yeah. So, Ms. Wu, well, geopolitics has become such a big challenge for countries in dealing their own relations with others. How much do you see really the issue of ecology and environment can create the common ground? How much has it managed to create the common ground so far? How to prevent it from being further more politicized?
Well, I think realistically, the humanity in general has been on this journey of awakening, right? If you look at the United Nations, agenda around the sustainable development, and if you look at the climate change agenda as well as the biodiversity agenda, which are two representative actually issues or agenda item priorities in terms of how global community has decided to come together to address the challenges, actually the crisis we are living in today. And so from that perspective, I think globally humanity as a whole has been, sort of awakening to the crisis that we are living in, and trying to come together, unite our efforts actually to demonstrate this togetherness, collectiveness actually to address the challenges there. Now, in reality, there are many, many challenges or constraints somehow humanity has not managed to address, and particularly reflected in the geopolitical, geoeconomic context there. And if you look at the solution perspective, we have technologies, we have industrial value chains, particularly demonstrated by China in terms of accelerating clean energy transition, like solar, wind, batteries, EVs, you name it. So we feel positive actually. So there are solutions, they are available, they are cost effective, affordable there as well. But then in the geopolitical rivalry constraining that sort of scaling up. In reality, particularly reflected among developed versus developing countries there, particularly China in this particular case, and literally creating the security, supply chain security threats, actually to block the progress that could be potentially, delivered actually for the results. I think that part needs to somehow the deeper global awakening so that humanity can really address those challenges and figure out how to move things forward. Otherwise, we're all going to be doomed, actually, in the current crisis there.
Well said. Professor Khan?
I think this is the most important issue of the present time, because everybody knows one Earth, one humanity is a common ground for all of them. It's a global village, the concept that we have learned in the last 30 years. But at the same time, when we are going to go for the sustainable development, and then we go towards green technologies, carbon neutral technologies, carbon free technologies, or clean technologies, again, the business sector is involved. So the biggest issue of replacing the fossil fuel, so that involve again geopolitics, because one of the major driver of current day's economy is your energy resources. These energy resources, they are definitely are politically driven. So in that case, it's becoming very difficult to separate the politics from this environmental conservation and the sustainable development goals.
the city of Datong in Shanxi province, which was once very well known for being the producer of coal in China, has been doing this very painstaking transformation over the past 15 to 2 decades about getting new jobs for people away from the coal industry. For example, by doing tourism. And that has not been an easy job over the past 2 decades, but rather a painful transformation, while at the same time, people are seeing the fruit of it already. You also see, for example, about not to fish in some of the major rivers and waters. And that means great transformation of lifestyle has to take place by the local fishermen. So how do you see these examples taking place in China? Well, you also hear ever increasingly others saying, we don't want to do this transformation because there's pain.
The few examples you mentioned, particularly if you look at the cases in the Shanxi province, which traditionally has been the capital of coal in China. And somehow the national government has made a serious commitment to, on one side, to address pollution issue, air pollution, and in the meantime, really address the carbon issues there. So the cost, who should bear the cost? And because it's a national government delegation, it's a commitment, so the whole country has been bearing the cost of transition, because on one side, we do need to drive the shift as quickly, as effectively as possible. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, we have to make sure people's livelihoods, those people impacted by this transition, has to be taken care of.
Right.
So the government, basically has been chipping in terms of rescaling, upscaling, all these efforts. And so there's a social movement literally in this country trying to address this sort of transition justice issues there as well.
It's not just the government, it's also individual efforts. Every household that's been impacted.
The whole society.
Actually, they are making
the whole society.
The whole society indeed. So I think this is very relevant to put in, because one could argue, oh, this household is going to suffer, that household is going to suffer. That is really a matter of fact. It's unfortunate, but when you are having a transformation, you have to let all stakeholders to take certain responsibilities.
Yeah, I think it's the collective efforts. It's the government, business, and the whole society. So every one of us actually has been, in that context there. So that one, globally, we talk, particularly in the context, in the narrative of the Western countries there, we talk about human rights, right? Those are the people, and they have there are human rights issues there as well. So we put that issue in the context of a just transition, right? Which is globally shared concept there as well. So yes, so China has been collectively, the Chinese people, the society has been shouldering the cost of transition in that context there. Now, in order to deliver all the commitments, actually, China has made to the Biodiversity Conservation Convention globally, and also national targets there as well. So we have to take some really dramatic efforts in order to really literally reverse the loss of nature. And fishing ban is a typical example of that. And the Yangtze River is the first one, literally said the 10-year fishing ban. And if you look at the outcome so far, it's been very impressive, right. Very, very encouraging there as well. We started to see coming back of species, aquatic species actually, to China's longest river there. So we sort of know in that process, if somehow you reduce the intervention, damage, destruction to nature, nature has life itself actually will come back. It just takes the time and also human control. We need to control our human footprints, impacts there in order for nature to come back.
Professor Kan, your view about the transformation that economies like China is going through and the so-called debate on the just transformation.
I fully agree, first of all, with Ms. Wu, that the society, the government, and the business all has to come together. But you see, wherever there is a transition or transformation, rather, there are threats and there are opportunities. And the strategy is that how to convert those threats into opportunities. You see, for example, this green technologies of EV vehicles, whenever these coming over, the traditional mechanics working in the workshops in developing countries, they're earning their livelihoods, they're definitely going to affect. Similarly, at the time of Green Revolution, when these pesticides and the agro industry came in, so the manual farmer, they affected. But with the passage of time, it transforms. Similarly, it is going to happen. But I think this is just a blame game when those, particularly the countries or the region, they are not that much taking keen interest in transforming to get the benefits. So those developing countries, like fastest developing countries, the China, not only the other development, they are working towards the green side. And I remember one of the previous programs, I mentioned one of my own research paper that published in 2019 or 2020 somewhere, that highlighted the industrial symbiosis, the circular economy, utilizing the waste and this area. The research papers published in the last 20 years, the China's contribution was 67%, 10% Japan, and the remaining 23% rest of the world. So that indicates even the R&D is going together for this transformation very rapid in China. So I think it should continue, and there is no, I think, question of overcapacity. There is no overcapacity yet. Still, there is a need going on, but it's just transforming because it is shifting the business from one region to the other region. So it's an economic race. So they don't want to let the other countries in the developing world that to compete with the race. So that kind of arguments, they are being created, and through the media, they're being spread among the common man. So I think they're just lame excuses or just criticism for criticism. It's not the reality.
Muhammad Khan, Wu Changhua, thank you so much for being with us to celebrate the National Ecology Day in China. I'm sure there's a lot of things to be done, even for today, for the both of you and for many of our audience. Thank you so much for joining us.